In this video, we will see different types of species interactions. These may be interspecies interactions, which is between two or more species of a community, or intraspecies interactions, which is between the members of the same species. These interactions take place in any large biotic community, like a large tract of forest, grassland, or wetland, and determine the structure and function of populations and communities. These interactions can be positive, negative, or neutral, and between two species, they may be different under different conditions or at different stages of their life histories. For example, two species may exhibit parasitism at one time, commensalism at another, and be completely neutral to each other at still another time. In pioneer communities or in disturbed conditions, negative interactions tend to predominate. But in matured communities, negative interactions are minimized and positive interactions are favored in order to enhance the survival of the interacting species. In this slide, we can see different types of interactions are given. Let's see them one by one. First, the negative interactions. These include mainly competition. Competition is the interaction between two organisms striving for the same resource. It adversely affects the growth and survival of the organisms. It can be interspecific competition or intraspecific competition. Competition is of two types: interference competition and exploitation competition. In interference competition, organisms come in direct contact with each other, like fighting, defending a territory. In exploitation competition, two organisms exploit the same resource, which can be food, space, or prey, but do not come in direct contact with each other. When two closely related species having similar habits or morphologies are engaged in this type of negative interaction, that is competition, they often do not occur in the same place, or often or even if they are found in the same place, they use different resources or are active at different times. This ecological separation of closely related species is known as Gauss principle or competitive exclusion principle. For example, when Paramecium cordatum and Paramecium aurelia are grown in the same culture medium, only Paramecium aurelia survives due to its rapid growth rate. But if Paramecium cordatum and Paramecium bursaria are grown together, both will survive and reach a stable equilibrium in the same culture medium. Although they compete for the same food, they occupy a different part of the culture medium. Since habitat is different for the two species, so they can coexist in the same culture medium, even though their food is identical. Two similar species can also live together in the same geographical region and occupy similar niches by developing morphological differences, which can minimize niche overlap and avoid competitive exclusion. This is known as character displacement. For example, several species of Galapagos finches display character displacement. They differ in beak size and shape and eat different types of seeds, which best fit for their unique beaks. For example, those with strong beaks consume large seeds, and those with small beaks consume small seeds. Another group of species interactions are positive negative interactions. As the name suggests, they are positive for one species while negative for the other. That is, they result in negative effects on the growth and survival of one population and positive or beneficial effects on the other. It includes predation, parasitism, and commensalism. Predation is when one organism called predator consumes part or all of another organisms of another species called prey. Parasitism is when one organism called parasite derives nourishment from another organisms called its host, which is harmed in the process. Parasite lives on or in the body but do not usually kill the host. These interactions, that is prey predator and host parasite interactions, are very important because without them the prey population or the host population would erupt. For example, overpopulation of deer will overgraze and later due to shortage of food will decline if predator is removed. Most violent eruptions, for example, occur when a species is introduced into a new area where there are both unexploited resources and a lack of negative interactions. The population explosion of rabbits introduced in Australia is a well known example. Host parasite and prey predator interactions tend to co evolve. Co-evolution occurs when two species evolve in response to one another. Predators evolve in response to prey defenses. Prey evolve in response to predation. Example mimicry, chemical defenses, etc. But the negative effects tend to be quantitatively small. This is because continued severe depression of a prey population or host population by the predator or parasite can lead to extinction of one or both the populations. Another example of positive negative interaction is amensalism, where one species is inhibited or completely eradicated and the other is unaffected. Example of amensalism is allelopathy. It is a phenomenon where, due to biochemicals produced by one organism, the other organism may not survive. For example, in chaparral biome, shrubs produce certain inhibitors which inhibit the growth of herbaceous plants around them. These inhibitors are volatile terpenes produced in leaves, accumulate in the soil during dry season, and restrict the growth of other plants in rainy season. Finally, the last group of interactions are positive interactions. These include commensalism, where only one population benefit, proto-cooperation, where both species benefits, and mutualism, where both benefit and become completely dependent on each other. Charles Darwin emphasized competition and natural selection as the sole forces for speciation and evolution. But many other scientists and researchers postulated that positive interactions like mutualism and cooperation are equally important in the evolution of species and the stabilization of the ecosystem. Lynn Margulis, for example, postulated that eukaryotes originated due to symbiosis between Archaebacterium and some eubacteria. Similarly, mitochondria and chloroplast also evolved in eukaryotes and plants. Commensalism is a simple type of positive interaction where one species benefits while the other is not affected. It is the first step towards the development of beneficial relations. It is commonly seen between sessile plants and animals on one hand and mobile organisms on the other. Example, crabs present in the mantle cavity of oysters. In proto-cooperation, both the species gain by the interaction, but are not dependent on each other and can survive if separated. W.C. Alley is known for his studies on proto-cooperation and gave the Alley principle of aggregation, according to which cooperation between species is found throughout nature. For example, proto-cooperation between crabs and coelentrates. Coelenterates grow on the backs of crabs, providing camouflage and protection to the crab, and coelenterates in turn are transported from one place to another and obtain food from different places. The third and the last type of positive interaction is mutualism, also known as obligate symbiosis. In this, the two species are completely dependent on each other and cannot survive without each other. This is found between organisms with widely different requirements because organisms with similar requirements are more likely to get involved in competition. For example, symbiotic relationship between nitrogen fixing microorganisms like rhizobium and higher plants like legumes is well known. Another example of mutualism is between cellulose digesting rumen bacteria and ungulates such as cattle. Similarly, cellulose digesting microorganisms, that is, flagellates, are found to live inside the body of termites. Without these flagellates, termites cannot digest the wood they ingest. Lichens are also very important examples of mutualism. They are an association of specific fungi and algae.